head on into for the culture. So I pulled this particular story after seeing it on your timeline. Terrance, you tweeted about this particular young man and his big dreams and things that he's going for. And again, it's one of those things where we tell, particularly underrepresented folks, Black, Brown, Indigenous people, you can do anything. You can participate in any activity. And I think one of the things that is missing, or the thought process, I guess, doesn't fully go into it, is some of the expense that goes into some of these untraditional sports. I watch All American on it's a show on a sports related show on the CW, and this same topic came up on this week's episode. And traditionally, and particularly untraditional sports, on the TV show, it was tennis. In tennis, you got to have court time, rackets, trainers, all of these huge expenses that even if you have the talent in the sport, you are sometimes left out of it because you can't afford the upkeep and to continue in the sport. I personally think that's sometimes by design, but that's neither here nor there at this point. But for this particular young man, Myles Rowe, this has become an issue in the arena of racing. So you want to tell a little bit more about it? It seems like you had a little bit more insight. I'm not sure how you even came across this.
Well, I came across it because I know the family.
Oh, okay.
I knew his parents. Well, this is a long time, not a long time ago, maybe 10 years ago. They owned a wine store in Smyrna,
Okay.
and I used to do some IT work for them. And since then, time has passed. They sold the wine store because they had this young kid who they found out has some skills when it comes to driving go-karts. Now, you can drive go-karts at any, you go to some of these race, these, yeah,
Andretti's.
Mario
Yeah.
Andretti's in
Yeah.
Georgia. I don't know if they have them anyplace else, but you go to amusement park, they've got little
Yeah.
go-kart tracks or whatever. But there is a whole sport with go-kart driving to where it's like full-fledged, you know, you think of NASCAR, you think of IndyCar, a lot of those racers that do Indianapolis 500, they do NASCAR, Daytona, whatever the case may be. You think of the F1 Formula drivers, Lewis Hamilton, international stars. They all
Mm-hmm.
kind of get their start doing little go-kart tracks. So their
Mm-hmm.
son was good at go-kart tracks and go-kart riding. So they advance. Again, they sold the wine company or whatever, I would assume, because they wanted to help their son chase his dream of
Mm-hmm.
ultimately becoming an IndyCar driver. So all that works. And not only does it work, he's actually pretty good and he actually wins races. Just so the story that Nica shares in the show notes was something that I found, it hits close because I'm familiar with the family, but
Mm-hmm.
it just goes to the fact that, Nica said it, we tell kids, you can do anything you put your mind to, but it's a little bit more involved in that. There is the cost of doing the sport, and then getting sponsors, and then just having the time, not even talk about kart racing. You mentioned tennis. You got to travel all over the country with your kids. I know somebody else in my Facebook group, her daughter is doing golf, which is another non-traditional sport specifically for black folks, right?
Right.
So every time I see her post, she's all over the country, Florida, California, Canada, all over the place, taking her daughter to play golf. And she's in high school. She ain't even in college
Mm-hmm.
yet. This ain't pro, Wimbledon,
They're
US
not making
Open.
money off this like that.
This is, yeah, amateur, right? So,
Right.
mom's always traveling, always, out doing something to support their kids, right? And to underrepresented people backgrounds, just coming up with 200, $300,000 so your kid can drive go karts in the hopes that he get a sponsor, in the hopes to actually become an Indy kart driver. It's not just as simple as that. You just ain't money ain't just laying around for us like that, right? So all
Not
that
for
to
the bulk of
say,
us, no.
Myles Rowe, this the kid in this. He's in college now. Like I said, when I worked with the family, I think he couldn't even have been in maybe in junior high school or something. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
now he's in college and he's a pretty damn good open cart IndyCar racer. This is not the little go karts. These are the ones that you see, not the same speed, not the same class, but the same type of cars you see in Indianapolis 500. He's driving
Mm-hmm.
these things and he's winning. But the problem is, in order to get advanced through the season, you got to have money. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, a black family who they don't have generations of money laying around, or they don't have the what is it called, the with the family has the heritage, there's another word for it,
Inheritance.
not inheritance,
Oh,
the lineage of a
okay.
race car driver, so they're not connected to that. They're
Oh, okay. So
right,
they're
so
coming in completely green. No,
right
nobody.
now
No.
he's
Yeah.
again, they mentioned he races for a team. My limited knowledge is, okay, why isn't the team sponsoring all
Right.
of his whatever? But I don't know. Again,
How
again,
that works.
our ignorance to it, and our lack of understanding, our lack of history with it, confined us in situations where we've got a kid, he's smart, he's talented, he's actually good, he's actually winning, but there's this other barrier,
Mm-hmm.
So again, I thought
Talent
I
is not
make
enough, unfortunately, for us in a
right,
lot of these
right. Just being
situations.
talented, isn't enough, especially for black. Let's keep it for real.
Yeah.
There are families, um, I think the mother that I know, she even made mention to where she can't think of another racer that doesn't look like him that's ever had this issue. They always come up with the money. They find a sponsor or
Mm-hmm.
a brand or a company or something, or they just got money to
Right.
where they can do this, right?
Right.
So it's kind of pretty sad, but the family's hopeful. They've got this this website picked up their story. I actually again shared it on Twitter and tagged a bunch of people to share it. Soledad O'Brien, if you remember who she is, I got a little bit of I got a little
A
bit
little
of
bit of
juice,
something.
just
A
a
little
little
juice.
bit of juice, so I tagged her in and she shared it, and that picked up a lot of people, so hopefully they get up because they need to raise like
Jesus
$400,000
Christ.
to continue in the series. They got somebody who's anonymous donor to give them 200,000, but they still need like over $200,000. So this is where GoFundMe kicks in, things of that nature. So we'll make sure to put a link in the show notes to the GoFundMe because they need this money like soon,
Now.
like
Yeah.
by this weekend,
Yeah.
or his season is over, and he's
Yeah.
like the favorite.
Yeah.
It's so crazy
It's
that
heartbreaking, really.
right, because he's talented, he's good, he's got a proven track record of actually competing well to where he's winning races. But here we are, he's they need money, so
In
I
addition
thought,
to his skill on the track, during all of this, he is set to graduate from university, I think this month, right?
and the parents have given up everything. Like I mentioned, they are doing everything that they can to support their son. But again, coming from the background that we come from, participating in a sport that we normally don't participate in, there are some barriers, there are some challenges, there's some hurdles that not everybody has, so
Right.
that's why that's important. So definitely, if you see it, I donated a couple bucks to him, because again, I ain't gonna be talking outside of my neck saying, "Oh, this is
Right.
sad," and I don't
Mm-hmm.
put my wallet out there. So I
Right.
donated some money to him. Made sure to share, do my whatever I can do, and hopefully, if anybody hears this and you feel
Led to.
compelled, yeah, to
Yes.
actually do so, definitely do so. Share the word, because this is pretty sad, if you ask
Yeah.
me, that his
Yeah.
season's gonna be cut
Especially for
short.
him to be the favorite and
Mm-hmm.
he's winning. He has all the things except, the money part. And let's be clear, when we say, coming from underrepresented backgrounds, not all underrepresented backgrounds are, impoverished and poverty. These are educated parents, that are, giving their son, the best life possible. At the end of the day, it's just the sheer amount of money that you have to
This costs
have in this.
hundreds of thousands of
Hundreds of
dollars to
thousands of
do.
dollars. And that
Hmm.
is nothing to just kind of say, hey, let me pull this out of my savings, just cash in some stocks. But these are his parents. They mentioned them in the article. Dad's an accountant, mom's a COO. So it's not as if this is something that is, on the, I hate to say lower end of things, but a lot of times when you think underrepresented groups who need funding, a lot of times you think, they're completely impoverished, they don't have anything. Those are some of the cases, yes. But there's also the other side of the spectrum of that there are, middle class,
Upper
even
middle
upper to middle
class.
class families
Hmm.
who still have the same problem because in this particular kind of sports, you do have to have a lot of expendable capital to be
Hmm.
able to pour into your children. And God forbid you have, multiple children who have,
And God forbid they're
interests
good
in,
at it,
and
right?
they're good. And that's the
It's
thing.
one
He's
thing to be like, all right, we're going to come up with something else, right? But you
because this
you
is
on the
not this is
precipice
not for you.
of being a
Yeah.
phenom, and you can't. It's hard. It's tough to look at your
Yeah.
kid and be like, hey,
We ain't got it.
we ain't got it, you know.
Yeah.
And that's not, again, that it would be tragic in general if that was the case across the board, but that's not
Right.
the case across the board.
No.
Other
Only
kids
for a
that look
certain
like them,
population,
other
and
kids
typically
who are
it's black
not as
folk.
talented, who don't have the skills, have no problems running in these races year after year after year, being mediocre. Versus
Yeah.
this kid got some skills, and yet here we are.
He has all the pieces, all the necessary pieces, but he has this one barrier. So, again, we will put the link in the show notes. And again, if you feel compelled to or led pour into this phenom of a racer, please do so.